And now let me start back to our program and start our first piece of pie, prepare speech. Our first speaker is Carol Ritter. She is an experienced speaker and she's currently served as the VPE of this club. She's working on her level 5, prepare to speak professionally on visionary communication path. She asked another Toastmaster club for ideas on her goals for the future, which is an important part of fulfilling on her pathway. As an octogenarian, she has got a comprised timeline for future. The members said, share your wisdom. Well, little did they know, she gets a lot of her wisdom for comic strips, so she will tell us all about it. Level 5, engaging humor is like training for a marathon. Life requires setting goals and following a path to accomplish the objective. This speech presents some of the skills mastered during the marathon training that can be applied to life and other major endeavors. Please help me welcome Carol in presenting her keynote speech, Wisdom from the Comic.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. I'll sing you a song about a man named Jab, a poor mountaineer trying to keep his family fed. And then one day he was shooting at some food when up from the ground came a bubbling crude. Now, how many of you remember that? The Beverly Hillbillies. Yes, 1961 to 1979, I think. All right. But preceding the Beverly Hillbillies, there was Dog Patch USA. How many of you remember Dog Patch USA? Nobody remembers Dog Patch USA. All right. How many of you know what a lampoon is? Lampoon. Anybody? Well, a lampoon is to make fun of or to criticize somebody and to satirize them in a certain way. If you have ever seen Saturday Night Live, how many have seen Saturday Night Live? Saturday Night Live, all right then, you know what a lampoon is. You make fun of public figures and you criticize them in public. And what happens then is that it takes some of the gloss off of a public figure and makes them a little more human. It takes the starch out of a stuffed shirt or a snob. Saturday Night Live makes good use of lampoonery. I remember when Chevy Chase was playing Gerald Ford and tripping down the stairs all the time or trying to hit it with a golf ball and making a mess of everything. So you know what a lampoon is then. All right. I was born before the entrance of the US into the World War II. So I am an octogenarian, which means 80 years or plus. So when I was growing up, we got our news from the newspaper and we got our entertainment from the funny paper. And one comic strip that resonated very heavily with me was Little Abner. Little Abner was written by Al Capp, and he began to write it in 1934. And I did not see any of those earlier comic strips, but he continued on until 1977. And as a result, I read a lot of Al Capp's lampoonery. He developed a place in America called Dog Patch, and it was in the Appalachians somewhere. And he criticized and mocked and satirized the people in Dog Patch, whom he said were lazy, ignorant, or scoundrels or thieves. The men didn't want to work and the women just laid around. his comic strip was read by 60 million people in 900 newspapers in the United States, as well as 100 newspapers in 28 countries. He had a profound effect on how the South is viewed, even today. And you can hear that when you hear people from the sophisticated West Coast and the sophisticated East Coast, and I got my directions wrong, but there's the East and there's the West, then you can hear it when they speak about the South. Okay. Al Capp developed a place called Dogpatch, and it was in the middle of a bleak valley between two mountains of no account or consequence. He also developed a place in Europe called Lower Slobovia. How many of you have heard of Lower Slobovia? Nope. All right. It's a place in Europe. He developed it. He peopled it. And even today, when Hillary Clinton was doing her Secretary of State business, the New York Times said Hillary Clinton's going to Lower Slobovia. So his terms and his phrases resonates even today with us. Well, Al Capp's Dogpatch had people there like Mammy Yoakum, Pappy Yoakum, and Little Abner. Little Abner was a great, big, beautiful, 100 red-blooded, all-American boy. And he was quite simple, just a simple fellow. Mammy Yoakum was a little bitty short lady, but powerful as she could be. She ruled the roost. She smoked the corncob pipe. And then Pappy Yoakum was even more simple. You could see Mammy Yoakum sticking him in the bathtub and scrubbing him down, or clipping his toenails with a pair of hedge clippers. So those were the family of Little Abner. And then there was Daisy May, one of the girls in the comic strips. They wore very scandalous clothing, torn short shorts, very voluptuous ladies. It would be insulting if you saw that today, but that was something that in that comic strip and during that time, the Little Abner comic strip focused my life lens and that of many people in my cohort. Little Abner had many other people that lived around him in Dogpatch, and I'll tell you some of them. One was our Senator Jack S. Fogbound, and his last name was spelled P-H-O-G-H-B-O-U-N-D, Jack S. Fogbound. And he satirized this senator by having him have a campaign slogan which says, "There is no jackass like our jackass." Now, he was elected again and again from Dogpatch. One time, he bribed the senators that he worked with in Washington to develop himself a university. And it was going to be Fogbound University, spelled P-H-O-G-B-O-U-N-D, which left the initials P-U. Then there was General Bull Moose, slightly developed on General Motors. And General Bull Moose, his goal was to get all the money in the world for himself, big capitalist. Slightly developed on General Motors, and Charlie Wilson, who was the CEO of General Motors, who said, "What's good for General Motors is good for the US and vice versa." Well, Bull Moose said, "What's good for Bull Moose is good for everybody." And he was really raking in the bucks. Then there was another character that I loved in particular, the Widow Fruitful. She went around with two little babies and under each arm, and she had a passel of young'uns in behind her. And as she was asked one time about the census from the census taker, said, "Ma'am, I see that your husband died 6 years ago. Where did all these little bitty ones come from?" She said, "Well, he's dead, but I'm not dead." So another character that they had was poor Sadie Hawkins. She was the ugliest girl in Dogpatch. And she waited all the time, over and over, for a suitor to come. She needed to have a suitor. She said, where are the boys? Where's the beaux? When am I going to get my boy? Well, her daddy was worried about it because he thought, I'm going to be stuck with that girl for the rest of my days. So he devised a foot race. He lined up all the eligible bachelors, and they were supposed to run when the guns went off, and the young women would chase them. And when they caught one, Marion Sam was standing right there, and he was going to marry him. Even today, there are Sadie Hawkins Day dances among some schools where the girls ask the boys. So that particular character in Little Abner came forward to even today. And then there was Jubilation T. Cornpone. Jubilation T. Cornpone was a Confederate general. And he had a statue smack dab in the middle of town because he was one of the most important generals, and he established the town. And he was very famous for Cornpone's disaster, Cornpone's mistake, Cornpone's humiliation, Cornpone's retreat, Cornpone's last mistake. In fact, he made so many mistakes as a general that he was a real asset to the Union Army. And it was thought that perhaps Abraham Lincoln himself paid to get that statue of General Cornpone in the middle of town. Then there was Joe, and that's the way they say his name, Little Joe. He was a sad fellow. He went around all the time with a huge cloud over his head all the time, and rain coming down on him and lightning flashing out of it. Wherever he went, there were disasters. There would be car wrecks on the streets. There would be a piano falling from a high window down to somebody on the sidewalk. There'd be somebody falling off a ladder. He was a real disaster. He seemed like a friendly fella, but he had no luck at all. Then when it came time to sign up to do his duty and enter into the World War II, he went to sign up, but he signed up for Hirohito. And everybody said, yay, that means we're gonna win the war because he will ruin the opposition of our enemy there, because he had such bad luck. And then there was the students, wildly indignant about nearly everything. During the 70s, you had students running around doing lie-ins, doing sit-ins, doing eat-ins, doing I don't know what other kind of ins. They were constantly rampaging and taking up the offices of the people in the universities and tying up the presidents of the universities. And Cap lampooned them with students wildly indignant about nearly everything. An acronym, SWINE, swine. Now, I reflected back on that whenever I saw all of these terrible riots going on all over the country in the past couple of years. Over in Washington and Oregon, what business did they have for rioting? They rioted and made a mess of everything, and it upset so many people and so many lives. The way I looked at it, I say, hey, Joe, did you hear another cop shooting and a drug deal? No, I didn't. But hey, let's go riot. I need a new TV. That's the way I look at things like that. I'm speaking of my perspective and how it was formed from these comic strips. Now, the Al Cap was not the only comic strip that we resonated with. There was also Fearless Fosdick. It was another character in the Al Cap comic strip, Fearless Fosdick. He was a police officer, and he had sworn to the women of the Anti-Violence League that he wasn't going to use violence. And all the crooks were saying, yay, Fosdick, yay, Fosdick. No violence for you, but violence for us. All these crooks with their 5 o'clock shadow. And what happened there is Fosdick could not actually meet his nonviolence oath because there was constantly bullets running all over. And when Fosdick got shot, they would make big holes all over him. You could see from front to back, you could see all the way through him. He would say, oh, it's just a flesh wound. And at one point, some policemen came in and said, Fosdick, we thought you was dead. He said, oh, I was, but it wasn't fatal. It was just a minor condition. Now, I resonated with Fearless Fosdick when I'm seeing all these cities trying to defund their police. They're going to have a Fearless Fosdick situation there at some point. Now, Dick Tracy was another comic strip, and Fearless Fosdick was based on Dick Tracy. They had a radio watch on their wrist so that they could speak to their people on the field. This was in 1937 when it was developed, well before the Apple Watch. Now, at one point, Fosdick and Dick Tracy announced the wedding of a couple of people, B.O. Plenty and Gravel Gertie. B.O. Plenty was a small-time crook that Tracy had turned around to be a good guy. And his face was completely covered with hair, nose hairs and chin hairs and whiskers all over his face, and flies flying all around his head. His bride was Gravel Gertie, and Gravel Gertie had gray hair, long gray hair and big bug eyes. You had never seen two more asexual buds than those two people. But they got married, and lo and behold, a baby popped out. Now, for me at my age, at that time, babies popping out was just the way it was. We didn't know why, we didn't know how, they just popped out. And this baby was named Sparkle Plenty. And she was beautiful. She had long blonde hair, and the American toy manufacturers very quickly decided to make a Sparkle Plenty doll. And I got a Sparkle Plenty doll as a gift. Well, I was thrilled. She was made of latex rubber, and that was new after World War II. And you could squeeze her and she would slowly expand. Squeeze her again and she'd slowly expand. Now, her legs and arms did not articulate. So if I wanted her to move, I had to hold her and make her hop, hop, hop. And that got a little bit tiresome. But she had one feature that was awesome. She had a derriere that stuck out quite large. And that enabled her to sit on a shelf. So when somebody would come up to me and say, hey, look at the boots I got for Christmas. Oh, they're nice, but look at my Sparkle sitting over here on my desk. Or look at my nice new coloring book. Oh, that's wonderful. But how about Sparkle over here sitting on the shelf? Or, come on, Carol, let's go outside and play. Okay, but first I have to put Sparkle on the windowsill for her to sit. And she sat on the windowsill. 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 And it was hot. And it was Texas. And it was July. So one day I came in and I said, come on, Sparkle, let's go for a walk. And I picked her up and I heard this. And I thought, oh my heavens, what happened? Well, it appeared that my poor little Sparkle Plenty had left her behind. It was stuck to the windowsill. So I thought, oh, that's terrible. So I took my Sparkle Plenty and put her under my bed where the monsters are and said goodbye. Now, El Cap and the Dog Patch USA was not the only comic strip that we paid attention to. There was also Pogo, very important Pogo. A little possum who wandered in the Okefenokee swamp with a cast of characters of his own. One was Porcupine, which is a porcupine. Now, how many of you have ever heard the phrase, "We have met the enemy and it is us"? Anybody? Anybody? That was said by Pogo on the first Earth Day, April the 22nd, 1970. And it is a phrase which could resonate with us today with climate change. We have met the enemy and it is us. They also had a number of other sayings. I'll read you some of them here. You may be on the right path, but if you just stand still, you're going to get run over. Or newspapers today, full of doom, gloom, and rumors of boom. Let's see, there's another. I can't find it right this minute. We are confronted by insurmountable opportunities. We are confronted by insurmountable opportunities. Now think about that for a minute. What is an insurmountable opportunity? Our Congress today seems to be confronted with a whole lot of insurmountable opportunities. They can't get anything done, although the way should be clear to get a lot of things done that need to be done for this country. So those are some of the comic strips that, like I say, honed my life lens and that of many of the people in my age cohort. In his essay, Hugh McLean classified American comic strips into 4 types. They are the daily gag, adventure, soap opera, and an almost lost comic ideal, the disinterested comment on life's pattern and meaning. He's got that right. Disinterested comment on life's meaning. Who in the world can get really, really mad about something over which they have no control? When people go raging about, I just sit back and laugh because I think, what do they think they're going to do with that? I don't know how many of you read the newspapers, but there are comic strips today that you might take a look at. There's political comic strips such as Dilbert, such as Doonesbury. They don't have the clout that Little Abner had because of the dismal circulation, but I would still recommend them to you. So I'll leave you with these final thoughts. Laugh, and the world laughs with you. Weep, and you weep alone. Or, in the words of Porcupine, don't take life so serious, son. It ain't nohow permanent. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Mistress Toastmaster.
Thank you so much. Let me introduce our second speaker. And our second speaker is Akin, CCDL PM. He has been with Toastmasters since the fall of 2016 and is currently an area director, a club mentor, a club president, and a mentor to several Toastmasters across District 56 clubs. Today, Akin will be giving his strategic relationship level 1 speech, evaluation and feedback speech titled, It's All About the Dash. Please help me welcome Akin.
Is Akin on? It looks disconnected.
I think we lost him. I think he got disconnected.
Unless he's the shining speaker. Oh, he's coming back.
There he's back. There he's back.
Yeah, I think it's the area we live in now. We just suddenly lost power.
Oh,
Akin, we just did your introduction. And if you can talk, you can start now.
Okay, just hold on, please. I mean,
Okay.
I can connect on my phone, but I'm trying to reconnect on my laptop. Did you experience the power surge as well,
Yes.
Jessica?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'll wait again. When you're ready, let us know, please.
Yes, just
Okay.
give me a few seconds.
Okay.
I'm trying to see if you can accept me on my laptop, and then I'm going to shut down the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I've requested access via my laptop.
Okay, so at the meantime, we are waiting. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what could go onto the bucket list. So here are some examples. Travel all around the world. Is everybody have that on your list? Yeah, I saw Carol knock on her door. Yeah, learn a new language. Try a profession in a different field. And achieve your ideal weight. I think that's on my list. And try run a marathon. I guess it's always in Jorge's list. Yeah.
Well,
And maybe try some extreme sports.
Recording in progress.
Okay, Akin, when you're ready, just let me know.
Akin, you may have to turn off your phone. Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. I know the problem. That's what I'm doing. Thank you.
And another thing that I found interesting is connect with past teachers. I don't know if anyone thinking about that, but it is crucial for our past, like connection with the educators. All right, so let's give another applause to our second speaker, Akin Oni.
Here. Okay. Thank you very much. First off, good evening. Can you all hear me?
mhm.
Yes.
Excellent. I really like to give a big round of applause to Carol. And if you don't mind, if you can join me, I'd really appreciate it. The first time ever in recent memory that I will listen to an octogenarian present the way she did. Thank you so much, Carol. That was amazing. I really appreciate it. You actually touched my heart. I appreciate it. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. The presentation I'm giving tonight is all about the dash, which are elements of advice from my father. My father passed away in early November 2008. I was in Perth, Western Australia, when I was called to be informed that he had passed away in Nigeria. A few months later, when he was going to be buried, the obituary announcement read, sorry, my screen isn't working here. Okay, that 1919 to 2008. I remember while my father lived, he encouraged us that the day you were born is very important, the day you die is very important, but the most important piece is the dash, which is the question about the life that you live. I am here tonight to share a few of these elements with you and to end this presentation with 3 key takeaways based on lessons from my dad. While my dad lived, he was a very kind human being. He was very wise. He didn't have a lot of education, but he did what you would call living a somatos life, adding value to others, giving value to others, making others feel better about who they are. And he encouraged all of us as children to live similar lives. As part of ways to live our lives, which is the subject of the dash that I'm talking about tonight, he gave us a few tips. And I'm just going to share with you 3 main experiences that I learned from my dad. Number 1 is dream. My dad taught us to dream, to have vision for our life, to have goals, to have purpose. All those words that I mentioned, they are not dreams, but dream is the starter. When you have dreams, it will trigger inner energy within you to want to achieve something. What is your dream tonight? What are your dreams for the future? The second thing that he taught me is belief. And he said to me, my son, you will meet people in your life who will rather organize this in this way. Dream, see it, then believe. But he reminded me, if Edison had believed in dream, see, believe, that we won't have the electric bulb today. But he believed that that was possible, and he tried it several times before we all began to see it. And when you believe, there are certain ingredients that will catalyze the strength of your belief. Number 1, well-being. It taught me to do the best that I can to live well, take care of myself, emotionally, spiritually, physically, socially. Talk about it. He also encouraged me to have values, personal values, not corporate values. And as you all know, which I've shared on this platform before, my 5 values, they've not changed for over 30 years now, which is race, respect, authenticity, integrity, service, and excellence. I learned that from my dad. Next is self-esteem. Some people will call it self-belief. Some people will call it self-love. Some people will even call it self-confidence. And it taught me to appreciate who I am. In fact, I went for an exercise recently, and somebody saw me right after the exercise session. And he said, hey, how are you doing today? And how are you doing? And how are you doing with your fitness program? And I said to him that, well, for the first time in recent times, I look at myself in the mirror and I said to myself after the exercise, because of how good I felt about myself, I said, good afternoon, good looking thing. I said that to myself, and the guy started laughing. My father also taught me the issue of value centricity. While some people have that as an issue today, he wants me to zero in on that. What does that mean? Anything that I do, I should look for value. And I'm telling you today, are you a business owner? Are you an employee? Are you focusing on value? In fact, researchers told us that the reason you see 2 people, they went to the same school, studied the same degree, they got the same degree, and they graduated the same year. And you see one being paid almost twice as the other, is just because of the perception of the organization around the value that one brings versus the other. Be a value-centric person. That was one of the core teachings of my dad. And the last but not the least that he told me that will catalyze and strengthen my belief is pace. He said, in life, many people are going to actually work with me, do things with me, but I need to make sure that I don't walk too far with people that will slow my pace down. I need to work with people that will try and catch up with me, or people that will be faster than me so that I can increase my pace. And the last but not the least is actualization, which is the CPs. I need to learn to see. I need to learn that even as I see the actualization of what I believe in, number one, I am thankful for it, and I look for opportunity to allow that to benefit the people around me. And here are the three things that I'd like you to take away tonight. My dad told me, all I have is all I need. I may need to work harder to fine-tune those, to turn them on, to make them more effective and more efficient, but I have all that I need to be successful. Number two, he also encouraged me to act the way I want to be, relentlessly. In fact, it was Les Brown that said that if you act the way you want to be, very soon you will be the way you act. And I want to encourage you all tonight. And finally, whether you have a dream or you don't have, if you realize that after listening to this speech tonight, there's need for a course correction, don't be shy. Choose to rewrite the script of your dash starting now. Because if you do, you will be the better for it. Thank you very much. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Akin. All right. We are a few minutes behind, so without further ado, let's welcome our table topic master, Jorge. Jorge, please lead us with our second piece of the pie, impromptu speech.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Toastmasters. So continue on with the theme of the day, which is bucket list. I am going to bring back my random generator number. Each one of you was assigned a number from 1 to 11 when you joined the meeting. So I'm going to use the random generator to select the person that I'm going to choose to speak at the impromptu speeches. So let me run the wheel. And it's number 5, which is Rafia. Rafia, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So the question for the night is, what travel destination is in your bucket list that you have not been able to go, and why? And what travel destination you have been able to go that you have an awesome, lasting experience?
In my bucket list, the places where I want to go, one of the top places is China. We are still waiting for that. My husband and I, we were really looking forward to it before the COVID. So that is something that is still in my bucket list, and it looks like it's going to be on top of it. And the places that I enjoyed, I have visited a lot of places. Like I have gone to New Zealand, I have gone to Australia, I have gone to Europe. That includes France, it includes England, and it includes Switzerland also. And the most, the place that I most enjoyed is the New Zealand and the Australia. The place is so beautiful, and it is my cousins and my uncles also live there. Maybe that's why it's making more beautiful. But that is the place that I will never forget, and that was the trip that we had gone together as a whole family. So that's why that is my favorite place, and I still have a lot of places to go. Thank you so much, Mr. Jorge.
Thank you, Rafia. I'm definitely sure that after COVID, you will be able to fulfill your bucket list of traveling to China. And I'm sure that Jessica can help you finding the best places to go there.
Yeah, sure thing.
And you know, it's interesting that you mentioned New Zealand and Australia because that's in my bucket list. Places to go, and especially I want to go diving in Australia. So that is
Yeah.
in my bucket list too. So, all right, for our second speaker of the night, let's spin the wheel again. I know you cannot see that, you probably can't hear it. And the lucky one is number 4, which is, well, it's Carol, but I don't know if Carol wants to speak again. I mean, you already have your. so let's go with the previous to Carol, which is Ukpai. Ukpai. So the question for you is very simple. What is your most sumptuous item in your bucket list and why?
Would you want to repeat the question again?
What is in your bucket list? What is your asuntos? What is your more spiritual item, and why you want to leave that item in your bucket list?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topic Master. For me, as a person, I believe whoever I am or whoever I will be, there is a hand behind it. And once I know that, I also want to make that hand behind me happy. I know a book I've read by Rick Warren, Purpose-Driven Life. And that book makes me to understand I did not just exist for just existing reason. There is a purpose behind my existence. And all I want to do, all I have wanted to do is to make sure I live a life that fulfills the purpose in which the hand, which is God Almighty, has made me to be. Not just to pass by, but to live and leave a footprint even when I'm gone. Thank you.
Thank you, Pai. Definitely very enlightening. Definitely very assumptus purpose. And I'm sure that you are going to be able to fulfill it and live a happy life. All right. Do we have more time for another speaker, Mrs. Toastmasters?
Let's do one more.
One more. Okay.
Thank you.
Let's spin the wheel again. One more person. Number 1 is Aparna. Aparna, are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So we are going to get a little bit more serious, or let's call it more professional. So professionally speaking, what is the most important achievement in your bucket list that you have accomplished, and what steps or how long it will take for you to get there?
Yeah, professional life is like a big journey. It spans over 2 to 3 decades or even more for any person. And there's a lot of things that I would want to achieve in my professional life, starting from where I started to where I want to go to. I feel I am in the middle of my journey, and starting from a beginner to a trainee is when anyone starts, or even I started. I would like to go to like a senior manager, director, senior director, or even probably a C-suite if possible. But I know it's a far-fetched dream. It would say it's on the bottom of my bucket list, not at the top, but the journey to get there is very important. Along with that, I would like to also, things that I would like to achieve or accomplish in my bucket list is my presentation skills that I'm trying to learn and my speaking skills that I'm trying to accomplish through the Toastmasters. Joining Toastmasters was in one of my bucket list, I would say, and I'm actually trying to fulfill that through this Toastmasters club. I've been trying to be part of Toastmasters for almost like 6, 7 years, 8 years now. Never got an opportunity or time to do that. That would definitely, I would strike it off my bucket list if I continue coming here for more than a year or two. So, and accomplish certain level there. And apart from that, a kind of personality that I would like to develop, being very personable and being a mentor to many people, where I can also give back to my community, not only take, is something that I would like to accomplish as part of my bucket list in my career. And there are many things that I would like to accomplish, like I said, achievement, accomplishments, developing my personality, and being out there and helping people would definitely fall in all bucket lists. Thank you all.
So while we are voting, we are about to start our last piece of pie evaluation. So please help me welcome Kim and her team.
Great job to both of our speakers. And to evaluate those speakers, the first one I'm going to introduce is Ola to evaluate Carol. Take it away, Ola.
Give me a minute. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be doing daddy duties and I need to put the house in order. Okay. Yes, it's a privilege to evaluate you, Carol. And I'm starting right now. And I'll be evaluating you with a method called good, better, and best. Let's start with the good. It's actually an assomatos experience to have an octogenarian give a speech with that kind of energy. The energy you displayed, how you stood and went through the speech was amazing and inspiring to the whole club, that we can continue doing this at that level, even at that age. Thank you for sharing that with us. We really, really appreciate it. It is really a beauty to behold. Yes, in terms of the story, I really love it, that you talk through all these comics from Al-Kab, the dog patch, and all the characters, and how you remembered all of them. Wow, I have to give that to you. That is awesome. In terms of what you can do to do it better, I have nothing to say except that because there were so much characters, I was trying to play with my memory to remember all those characters, their names, what they are doing. A visual aid will have helped for us to be able to try to say, okay, maybe you show a clip of one of those characters and I can see the one with the thunder on his head or the one with the flies flying around. That visual aid will have helped us to really connect a little bit more with the story, even though you did a great job in giving us a wonderful perspective of all those characters. Now, in terms of what you did best, I have to go back to how you related all those comic stories to real life happenings, how we shaped your views. And that is actually interesting because it gives us a perspective of how life was then compared to what we have now. So that was awesome. Also, I have to commend again the memory and how you use so many vivid words and phrases like laugh and the world will laugh with you. I took that away, I wrote it down. Those kind of vivid words helped us to actually remember some things that will stick with us for a very long time. Overall, another excellent speech that you gave. Thank you for sharing that with us. It will live with us for a while. Thank you very much, Carol. Over to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Ola. Great job on that. Our next evaluator will be Ukpai, evaluating Akin. Over to you, Ukpai.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Akin, thank you once again for this great speech you have made tonight. As always, there are so many to learn from it, and I just want to thank you for that. For my evaluation tonight, I will look at what you excelled on, what you need to work on, and a challenge to you. First, in terms of what you did well, when you started, you gave an introduction, and that introduction set the tone, and we were able to connect with where you were going. 2, you gave a life story, which every one of us can also relate in terms of our fathers, in terms of people we look up to. I think that was a very great and brilliant experience. One other thing I have also seen and I also saw tonight is your use of slide, your use of pictorial expression. I think that is great. Keep it up, is good, and I love that. Is there anything for you to improve? I realized you had so many things you wanted to pass on, and that to a large extent didn't give you the room of pacing your presentation. And also that also had to do with your time management. Probably you could look at that, maybe try to cut off things you could just easily pass on as a message. Is there anything I want to challenge you? I've always listened to your presentation. Throughout this year, you have made a lot of presentation, and always, I want to challenge you. Can you do a presentation that you can't just stand up to just talk, don't show a slide? Maybe for one presentation, and let's follow you, because I believe there will be a time you'll be called where you will not have time to make a presentation slide. Madam General Evaluator, back to you. You meet there, you can still remember your club here.
Okay.
Thank you everyone for being part of this
Thank
meeting.
you.
I appreciate each
Thank
and every one of us. I'm grateful that we didn't have any role we needed to fill at this meeting. That was great. Have a very beautiful evening and see you on September 22nd.
Thank you all very much.
See you then.